This is what never been understood by the world of medicine. And as we said, we add to it in this way, in adding to the knowledge, that the information transfer is not the only job of the neurosystem. Not only information is transferred for the movement, but the information transferred in a capacity of the plasmatic magnetic field strength for production or creation of the condition for production of the matter in a given position. That's how a cell knows, what do you call, lymph knows what is going to become. It just happened, as I explained when we were teaching before. A cell is created in a kidney in conjunction with the flow of the blood and flow of the neurosystem. And this is very, very vital, it's very important for the world of medicine to understand this. The information, the reproduction, comes through the neurosystem. And the environment which the neurosystem creates in a certain voltage, certain current, in the plasmatic magnetic field level, you see, let's say, cell of a kidney. If you keep the same nerve and change the information, you see the cell of the heart. The power which comes from the brain for it. This is another fallacy which they say a man only uses 5% of his brain, the rest is there, or 10% of his brain. The brain continuously is made part of its function, is production of release of a specific current, magnetic gravitational field, plasma flow, for creating the environment for the lymph to change into a matter of given state. And it's so fine that it dictates everything. Because in a plasmatic information which comes from the brain is in an RNA state, very little. And by changing the RNA, then the DNA changes. And then the physicality, and it manifests itself. This is again, as I said, understanding the difference between the matter and a GANS and a plasmatic condition. The job of the blood cells is not just delivering oxygen. Each blood cell, as it goes through the vein, again, as we explained in the health side regarding the intestine, at a given point has a field which is energy transfers across to the cell which it has its gravitational magnetic field strength matching. The twinity is the essence of life. When they twin, they release energy to each other. And when the energy, when we talk about energy is gravitational magnetic field level, plasmatic, when it changes, one is transferred to the other one, then there is a disconnection and the blood carries on flowing. And it needs a superconductivity to transfer such energy so instantaneously we know the rate of the flow of the blood in the body of the man. So as it blows, the heart pushes the blood constantly, the energy level of the given red blood cell matches only the gravitational magnetic field of a cell in a kidney. And when it passes at that point, it matches superconductivity, superconductivity condition, releases that, and as it goes, and it goes, and it comes back again and does the same. We have to understand the reality about the whole process of the creation. And then when you change a condition, you have a different cell. The same neurosystem you can keep in the same lymph and change the information, what I call energy transfer through the neurosystem, and you will see you start creating different material. There is no need for stem cells. Stem cells is job of the doctors, which, okay, we needed it to understand the process. But now, if the doctors create, and scientists in the plasma condition, create the gravitational magnetic fields, now that we can measure of the, let's say, the cell of a organ in a given specific condition, the same nerve which is coming into it will be changed and that cell will be reduced. There is no need for even transplant. There will be no time for rejection. This is how the operation of the rebuilding of the organs in the space will be done. We have shown part of this work in the operation of the health side. This is in a way how we interfere with a lot of the disc damage. We create a condition that the neuroinformation at a point of the damage just changes slightly to what it was supposed to be, and then the disc gets developed and the pain goes and people walk a normal life. This is the change. In up to now we never explained how it works. Now that the development has reached this point, we explain further and further, because you see results, you understand. The whole process is understanding the flow and the rate of the flow. Then you can understand what you need to grow, where you need to grow. Then you understand how, for example, reptiles, when they lose their tail, they regrow it. Because all they do, they create gravitational magnetic field of the next cell in the growth process. So when it's achieved, there is the next one, because the field, the strength is slightly different and it's part of their memory. So they can create their tail very rapidly. I was explaining to Armin and Marco last week in the lab. It'll be very difficult, because then with a human being, with a combination of the bones and everything else, to inform all the cells at the same time. But in the coming time it'll be done. You don't need to worry about the amputation. I'm very much looking forward for this collaboration with the Iranian scientists in the development of the plasma in the health section. They have achieved certain levels of understanding in plasma technology and nanomaterials, and it's just a matter of putting in the nanomaterial in a given position, behaving like a matter GANS state, and converting it to the organ you need. This is what is coming up. By now we opening the university, the horizon of the science, the way will come out of the university, and the way you all stay open with what you discover and what you achieve has no more limits. We teach it freely. And one of the main point, which in so many ways we got to understand in totality, is who does what, where it happens, and the way it happens, and what conditions created. Then the rest is easy. We have used it, now we explain it. We don't talk about something which could happen. This is not a science fiction program. Now you understand the behavior of the CO2, how it's created, what its effects are, why the scientists have a problem in identifying between it and the others, and they want to stick to the old, because now they say we see it in magnetic field, we don't see the matter state, it's different. Now they understand it's the same thing in different condition. Then the new generation of scientists will develop their own ways and their own systems. And now we have given the ground for it to be openly taught and brought out. The very interesting position with the new science of plasma is not controlling it, but in understanding it. Because if you understand it, you don't need the system to control it. You give to it what it needs, and it takes what it needs. It can be done with your emotion, it can be done with your soul. And then because it receives it, it will turn to what is supposed to be, what it needs to be, including your intention. This I have explained in a few a couple of times in the past. We have a, what do you call it, the girl with the harp, where she has in her own lifetime has extended her fingers to be able to satisfy the desire to be a harpist, and then she has changed the body to be able to support such a heavy material. There is no need for support, but physicality is so big, then the body has to understand the intention of this is heavy, so I have to be big enough to control it, and fingers long enough, and she has changed in a matter of 5-10 years. So if we can do that ourselves, we can speed it up by intention and information we send to a certain cell to grow faster or more of this, because I want this. So you can even grow a tail if you like for yourself, because you have the extension of the tailbone. Would we make mistakes and create new creatures of ourselves with maybe 20 fingers and 10 meter long tail? Maybe we do, but would the environment allow us to do it? On planet Earth, at the moment, it doesn't seem to be. Maybe when we have these intentions in space in different environmental conditions, we achieve it, because then we need it and the condition allows it. The time of, what do you call it, as was in one of the very first reports of Professor in Belgium, in part of the reports is pseudoscience is not there anymore, because it's reality. You're handling it. 10 years ago, it was hard to understand. Now it's because there, and we see and receive activities of it. It's not the fantasy dream you all are making. We only measure in the neurosystem with the present systems we have what energy is converted or has become equal to the strength of the motion of an electron. We are now measuring the flow of a plasma current within the nerve system. So we need new systems to develop. The information on RNA is unique. The structure of DNA, no. If you hold the RNA and open up the total energy in one, let's say, proton, in one instance, you can create the structure of the body of a man with one intelligence of one RNA. What does this mean? It means a proton in the level which creates its own gravitational magnetic field, a sphere, to exist for millions and billions of years, it means it has to release energy as a constant speed and strength for it to be physically detectable at that point. So let's say if you have gravitational magnetic field energy that one electron can manifest itself, or one proton can manifest itself for 100 billion years or 100 million years, and you bring it in one instant and cut that into the strength of, let's say, amino acid, which the totality of a body of a man is built on all the other energies, and you can add the RNA to it instantaneously, you can make from one proton the whole body of the man in total physicality, let's say for one day.
Wow. Okay, so is that quantum entanglement?
No, it's the division of the power of the magnetic gravitational field. And then if for that one day you can add to it the RNA, which is the memory sequential part of the whole structure, then you'll find out all the structures will position themselves where they have to be. One part will make the heart and one part will make the eye. But then you have the entity for one day, because that's the amount of energy they have.
Okay.
So
So from a
you
proton
do not
and
need,
RNA.
you do not need to carry the man across. If you can carry his RNA, the whole information is there. It's just like you taking a CD, recording everything on it. Doesn't matter where you take the CD. You can play it on Earth, you can play it on the moon. Then you can add that information to it, then you can build the body of a man. That's why we always say it's the emotional part which dictates the physicality of the man. And this is what we explain. With a drop of blood, you can carry the totality of the man. You don't need to carry the man itself, because the blood carries both the emotional and the physical part with it, which is what you need to establish life. And in that point, what it releases, it dictates how the man will look in that environment. On this environment, we need 2 legs and 2 arms, but we can carry ourselves to another planet. We have 20 legs and no arms, because we need to be a good runners to survive.
And Mr. Keshe, that RNA can travel through space and relatively intact, right?
In so many cases in deep space, very much like now you're keeping the gene bank for the seeds or whatever in case something happens, a large number of entities are kept in that formation. Because the environment for them to develop according to the structure of their DNA has not been found yet suitable. In time, if let's say we see inevitable the annihilation of human race, we have already have enough information bank in RNA from this race to replicate it somewhere else where the right environment can be found.
Mr. Keshe, do all beings have RNA, or is that just peculiar
You
to
have a
our sector?
fingerprint, of course. Yes. You all have. This is the way. Once you find multiplication way, you have a RNA. That's your recording. That's how you know to do. This is the process we started in the lab here. RNA means remembering how to multiplicate and replicate. I don't call it RNA, I say it's a recording or remembering, what do you call it, sequential. You don't need to carry the body of the man. This is what I explained a long time ago, and now that you go deeper and deeper in the science of the creation, you understand how and why it can be done. There's been a lot of cry, we need to save this planet. No entity has ever lasted for eternity. Those who cry, I'm an alien and they have to do this and that with me, and they give talks in back that he's an alien and the rest, that's their problem, because they don't understand we are here to save. It's the short-mindedness of them. Without us, there wouldn't be the human race even at this level of intelligence. The race of any kind has to have the environment for it to exist. And when you destroy the environment, it cannot exist. You've seen it with all the animals on this planet, and the Earth is no different in the universal community. It has a lifespan and it will not be here. The ones who want to protect Earth from what they call aliens and others who are here to support, this shows they have no understanding of the creation. And they better not to be part of the human race because they are the cause of the demise of the race. No planet, if you understand the division of a neutron to a proton and electron, you understand even the smallest has not have or does not have the ability to be there all the time, because the life in the universe is to give and to take, and it comes to a point that when you give more, you do not have enough to sustain the taking, and then you divide and you divide. If a neutron cannot exist and it divides, how can a bigger planet like Earth does? Or a solar system? Because through its division, a new cycle starts. And those who fight for Earth have no understanding of the reality of the creation. Because without intervention and in bringing man to save his race out of the situation which every planet comes to, then there is no Earth. In fact, these people are the enemies of the race and the supporters of the race. Embracing the reality is the problem of the lack of understanding. You cannot carry the physicality, but you carry the information of the physicality, and when the time and the place is right, the information will regrow. Did man or was man introduced to this planet this way? No. Man is a race on his own. It's created through the conditions of the environment of this planet. Are there peoples who are of the different origin than the planet? Yes, because they found the environment to live amongst us. We have shown you the true essence of existence in the world of creation. The problem of the man from now on is not understanding the new, but how to get rid of the old past, that he doesn't look like a fool. Tell the pharmaceutical companies to deliver a system for cancer on planet Zeus. They don't have such a system and they cannot deliver such a thing. If you have a cancer on planet Zeus, as I call it, you want to come back to Earth, or you do it yourself because you know how to do it.
Right.
You understand? Pharmaceuticals only worth what is on the, what they call a greenback on this planet. Within the distance they can jump. Some of them can go on top of the Empire State and jump, but they still fall a long way down. This is what we are teaching. We are detached from the physicality of what these people want to do on this planet. The station is the travel. The station is to be in space, and the station is you cannot buy a pattern right in space when you're dying millions and billions of kilometers away from this planet. You have the knowledge. In the structure of the eye, you have a copper oxide, but because you have brought it to the condition of nano layering on the CO2 on the outside, copper oxide inside, and you have managed to put an amino acid which has a high potential difference in CH3 in conjunction with what you call plating, exactly like a leaf, to create high power conformation and conversion of energy into information and immediate transfer of the information to the brain to understand the emotion. There is no difference between the layers of the eye, as Dr. Elio explained on last Friday, And the structure of the leaf, which I explained, which absorbs CO2 only, and CO2 kits which you have received. Look what you have in your hand. A nano copper oxide, the inner layer of the eye. You have the salt and the water. On the outside, but because it's a ball, it behaves as unity externally. So the eye is inside out if you look at it. It's the earth inside out. And then you have the back of the leaf or your zinc plate on the back side, which is the CO2 layer. It's the order which is set and the computer is added to, it transfers the light, the energy of the light, the energy of what comes through the peeping hole of the body into images and emotion. Now, if you understand that, you should be able to make reactors which are emotionally dependent and you can reach the soul of the man. And this is what we said to our American colleagues in the American military. Talk to us, we can change the structure of the wars back to peaceful. People won't even remember how they carry gun. I think this can be passed on to our American colleagues in the American military. No man will remember why he's carrying guns for. If you understand the structure and understand how the magnetical gravitational frequency, as you like to call it, of a given structure affects the emotion of the man. So, congratulations. If you can put what you speak and what you write as words into practicality, you have entered the world of creation in a small way. As I said to Dr. Elia, the knowledge you gain or you bring on the table, any of you, is no competition to me, is an asset to us. I only open the books when you are ready to understand. But we have to understand how to use this tool, how to manufacture it, that it stays perfect. This is one of the things which made me really laugh in the past few months, is I feel sorry in a way. I gave my commiseration to the team, especially Richard Branson, when the test flight failed. And one of the most, I think, irrelevant thing Richard Branson did was to show that he cannot fail. He said him and his family will be the first one on the next flight. We don't need to do these sacrifices and such a, what do you call it, hollow gestures. We have to develop a technology which can support the transfer in a correct way. Not to sacrifice ourselves, to hurt ourselves or our family, just to prove that we are right and our ego can be stayed intact. In time, it's a just matter of time when the economical pressure becomes so much that people cannot afford a kilo of meat, as I see at $40 and $50 or euros a kilo for whatever thing, or you see fish at about 30, 40 euros, beyond people's means of eating. So the energies will be available. There is no choice. There is no choice but to feed the nations through the operation of work of the universe. Because the body of man is under the universe. All you do, you allow it to absorb more from its environment. Now we know the ways, we know the know-how, and the knowledge is within the reach of the people. The understanding is very simple. How you want to absorb energy is at the reach of the man. Nations like India, with such a high population, hunger was one of the biggest problems for the nation, for the government. a few hundred reactors in a given position, you don't need to refuel it because the gases will release their energy for hundreds of years, can feed the nation without the nation knowing. It's very much like you add fluoride to the water, you add specific energy balance into the environment that the body of the man can receive. Out of nowhere people are no hungry, and out of no hunger there is no anger, there is a balance, and you can create the conditions of the balance, emotional conditioning with the field of physicality. These are not dreams anymore, you have everything in your hand to achieve it. Understand the structure. You put in the physical copper oxide or CO2 and you achieve the free balance environment in the center as a bubble, you see it. That's the soul, that's the emotional part of the structure. That's the physical part. You feed the physical part according to the strength of the copper and CO2 and the rest, and you feed the emotional part with the fields from the center. You find peace. Marco and Arwen showed they could control the reactor from a distance from the center. Then we showed how through thoughts and cooperation between 3 reactors in 3 positions around the world, we brought specifically within seconds, physically a motor to a standstill at SSI. Twice within half an hour. One was pre-tested because I knew what I was doing, and second time I was sure it can be shown. I brought in Elia, Dr. Elia, and the reactors in Germany and in Canada into operation to show it physically. So people who have used the Keshe Foundation health systems, they know how we interfere with emotions, psychological part of the brain. And they have seen how ILS can be changed, how fibromyalgia can be changed, how Alzheimer's have been changed. All we need to do now is to mount the 2 systems together. Create a balanced field across this planet. Total cost less than $100. Every being, every decision-making being on this planet is connected to each other in one way. And that's the key. And as I always say, I give you the Rolls Royce, but I don't give you the key. In respect to enriching every creature, because you're always looking at the man. In respect to reaching all the creatures on this planet, calling even the plants, because to me, plants are creatures. They are not separate. As I was explaining a couple of days ago, you always look at the horizontal movers, what I call animals. You never look at the vertical movers, as we spoke before, the plants and vegetation. They have life. As Dr. Elias said, the difference between the 2 is one carries in their amino acid.
Difference between two?
2, the animals and the vegetables, yes, in their blood.
Yes.
One has iron.
Iron and magnesium.
And magnesium. So you'll find out you should be able to reach every entity which is a decision maker, not just because it moves. Because a plant moves up, is still in motion. A fish does, amib does. Everything which can replicate itself has a soul and a decision making. And this planet has a common ground. That's what we said, the world peace does not include humanity. It includes the entire being which can divide and be able to connect and collect is manipulation. The point is, as I was explaining a couple of days ago to the scientists here with us, I had my son in the car with me as we were driving off, and we faced the ocean and a very strong wind and turmoil on the sea. I said to him, can you explain to me what you see with the waves? How the waves are created and what is the purpose of them? Oh, he said, the energy of the wind goes to the water and it becomes the wave. I said, do you know the purpose? But he couldn't go any further. The energy of the wind, of this positioning of the air on this planet, is the source of life on this planet. What does it do? It brings the gases within this planet, which is the majority of the oxygen, carbon, nitrogen, and hydrogen, in touch with the salt water, literally forces it into the water which contains the salt. And at that point, creates amino acid on the surface. And with the wave, with the pressure of the waves, the way water gets mixed with the minerals in that water leads to establishment of life. And then becomes life in the seas. A lot of time, a lot of people ask one question: how come there is no life and suddenly when it rains, out of nowhere fishes appear? My dear friend, the structure of the life comes with the rain and the wind in the air, which creates its own amino acid, and a natural process takes place, what it takes in millions of years. You start the cycle of life, decision-making life. So in the high seas, you continuously produce new cycle of life by air, by wind pressurizing or forcing the contact between the gases. When it's simultaneously done, the way and the minerals in the water decide what kind of life starts in that air, in that water. And then by cycling it, it goes to the bottom of the water, on the bottom of the ocean, the bottom of the seas, and the life starts growing, and what you call, as we said in our papers, oil and gas. So understand the process. If the process happens on every second of this planet, life continuously created by the oceans, by the seas, through the wind, and then we eat it as fish, how can the CO2 which you create in your home, safety of nothing else, can be dangerous for your life? Where do you think the life starts originally on this planet? The process you do in your CO2 cups. As we said, you put the plates outside the cup, you still see the CO2 will happen inside, and you see the, the amino acid on the top. This is what you got to understand the process. And then, if you can control it, you, in your CO2 units which you receive, put the plates outside it. This rate of the production of CO2 will be slightly slower. But what you get is a pure CO2 with amino acid. You have done, only thing if you're very happy to do it naturally, put a little fan on top of your CO2 kit unit to create the turbulence that the amino acid gets mixed up with the salt in the water and the CO2, and you will see new life. You will start creating fish in your CO2 tanks. Because the process up to now has been stationary. You create a wind condition for turbulence of the oil to get mixed with the CO2 and with the other minerals which is in your water. You decide you want a vegetation, protein, or you want fish, or you want beef. Now you understand how easy it has been and how you've been blind to it. Mix continuously the amino acid mixture which comes with the air with the conversion of CO2 into your salt, and decide what the salt water will have as a metal content, magnesium or iron. And the knowledge seekers have seen in the lab in SSI. You add iron in it with the right combination, you'll get red blood. And you get a very soft protein. You go direction of the fish. So now, you tell me how would you like your CO2s to become? This is what I discussed with the Italian scientists on Friday. I said people haven't seen it, they don't understand it. You watch the CO2, you watch the amino acid, the fat, all of you who made the CO2 kit, and you produce CO2, you've seen the layer of the fat. But none of you, as Vince said, I have to spoon feed you. If you do what the seas do, what the wind does, that it turns this amino acid on the surface into the mixture of the water, and you have the CO2 at the bottom, and you decide what mixture you're going to put copper, iron, whatever into your salt, then you produce a material which is matching to your digestion system. What would you like, banana or a strawberry? Now no man should go hungry. Every being, every decision-making being on this planet is connected to each other in one way. And that's the key. And as I always say, I give you the Rolls Royce, but I don't give you the key. In respect to in reaching every creature, because you're always looking at the man. In respect to reaching all the creatures on this planet, calling even the plants, because to me, plants are creatures. They are not separate. As I was explaining a couple of days ago, you always look at the horizontal movers, what I call animals. You never look at the vertical movers, as we spoke before, the plants and vegetation. They have life. As Dr. Elias said, the difference between the two is one carries in the amino acid,
Difference between
two, the animals and the vegetables in
yes,
their blood.
yes.
One has iron
Iron and magnesium.
and magnesium. So you'll find out you should be able to reach every entity which is a decision maker, not just because it moves. Because a plant moves up, still in motion. A fish does, amoeba does. Everything which can replicate itself has a soul and a decision making. And this planet has a common ground. That's what we said, the world peace does not include humanity. It includes the entire being which can divide and be able to connect and collect its manipulation. The point is, as I was explaining a couple of days ago to the scientists here with us, I had my son in the car with me as we were driving off, and we faced the ocean and a very strong wind and turmoil on the sea. I said to him, "Can you explain to me what you see with the waves? How the waves are created and what is the purpose of them?" Oh, he said, the energy of the wind goes to the water and it becomes the wave. I said, "Do you know the purpose?" But he couldn't go any further. The energy of the wind, of this positioning of the air on this planet, is the source of life on this planet. What does it do? It brings the gases within this planet, which is the majority of the oxygen, carbon, nitrogen, and hydrogen, in touch with the salt water, literally forces it into the water which contains the salt. And at that point, creates amino acid on the surface. And with the wave, with the pressure of the waves, the way water gets mixed with the minerals in that water, leads to establishment of life. and then becomes life in the seas. A lot of time, a lot of people ask one question: how come there is no life and suddenly when it rains, out of nowhere fishes appear? My dear friend, the structure of the life comes with the rain and the wind in the air, which creates its own amino acid, and a natural process takes place, what it takes in millions of years. You start the cycle of life, decision-making life. So in the high seas, you continuously produce new cycle of life by air, by wind pressurizing or forcing the contact between the gases. When it's simultaneously done, the way and the minerals in the water decide what kind of life starts in that air, in that water. And then by cycling it, it goes to the bottom of the water, on the bottom of the ocean, the bottom of the seas, and the life starts growing, and what you call, as we said in our papers, oil and gas. So understand the process. If the process happens on every second of this planet, life continuously created by the oceans, by the seas, through the wind, and then we eat it as fish, how can the CO2 which you create in your home, safety of nothing else, can be dangerous for your life? Where do you think the life starts original on this planet? The process you do in your CO2 cups. As we said, you put the plates outside the cup, you still see the CO2 will happen inside, and you'll see the amino acid on the top. This is what you got to understand the process. And then, if you can control it, you, in your CO2 units which you receive, put the plates outside it. This rate of the production of CO2 will be slightly slower. But what you get is a pure CO2 with amino acid. You have done, only thing, if you're very happy to do it naturally, put a little fan on top of your CO2 kit unit to create the turbulence that the amino acid gets mixed up with the salt in the water and the CO2, and you will see new life. You will start creating fish in your CO2 tanks. Because the process up to now has been stationary. You create a wind condition or turbulence of the oil to get mixed with the CO2 and with the other minerals which is in your water. You decide you want a vegetation, protein, or you want fish, or you want beef. Now you understand how easy it has been and how you've been blind to it. Mix continuously the amino acid mixture which comes with the air with the conversion of CO2 into your salt, and decide what the salt water will have as a metal content, magnesium or iron. And the knowledge seekers have seen in the lab in SSI. You add iron in it with the right combination, you'll get red blood, and you get a very soft protein. You go direction of the fish. So now, you tell me, how would you like your CO2s to become? This is what I discussed with the Italian scientists on Friday. I said, people haven't seen it, they don't understand it. You watch the CO2, you watch the amino acid, the fat, all of you who made the CO2 kit, and you produce CO2, you've seen the layer of the fat. But none of you, as Vince said, I have to spoon feed you. If you do what the seas do, what the wind does, that it turns this amino acid on the surface into the mixture of the water, and you have the CO2 at the bottom, and you decide what mixture you're going to put copper, iron, whatever into your salt, then you produce a material which is matching to your digestion system. What would you like, banana or a strawberry? Now no man should go hungry. As I keep on saying, we don't put patents in, but we teach you how to do it. And because it's a public knowledge, you cannot patent it. So it's been taught directly. I said there is nothing, has to be the interface between matter and the GANs. Now you have to realize, working in one. We are human beings, we are live in a matter state, which is partially matter and partially GANs, and because of our lack of understanding, we have never separated the two. The double core we see with Victor is because you have the mixture of two elements, and the two elements gravitational magnetic field. Due to the mixture you have used, there is a most probably, there is some, sorry about this, is the mascot of the foundation. He hears the noise, he has to confirm. So the plasma, the material, there is some material, there is a separation between the two bubbles. One belongs to the CO2 and one core belongs to the, what you call copper oxide. So they have created their own central core, but because of the way your material is mixed together in the core, they have a line of connection between each other. This is the field connection. And that's why you have two twin centers. You will see in time light within these cores, because the plasmas will interact by layering inside each other, and that interface, as I explained about the creation of matter in the plasma with the gravitational magnetic field of different strength. Now in the coming time, as you mix materials, you will see you create light within these what you call center plasmas. These center principles, because they will radiate different fields, and in attraction and reduction from their environment, then you will start seeing light in this. They become like a light bulbs. The interaction will come from inside. You don't get a light as is outside, as a light bulb you see. The light inside will come from the same structure of plasma. And then you will start understanding how you can control these, what they call centralized plasmas, to create different matters. This double plasma separation you've seen is the beginning of your understanding of the creation of life. If you can mix and control the CO2 and the GANs in a specific order in your reactors, I'll show you in the future how to do it, then you create one reactor and the two plasmas will merge inside each other, and as they have different strength fields, they interact and you will see the light inside the bulb. I explain to you, as you develop, I'll teach, I'll explain. In a specific way, at a specific condition in this reactor, be it due to the distance of the cores from each other, being due to the material mixture you have used, being possibility of you have some sort of matter content which sits between the two layers, you have created separation. But this separation is exactly what we call, you will see God particles. You will start seeing the structure of matter on the walls of your glass in the coming times if you do it the correct way. You saw the columns, you understand the structure of the columns. You load it differently. Now you see different aspects. Something which you most probably have not noticed is that each one of you uses different motors for rotation of these plasmas. And these motors create their own magnetic field which condition your plasma, condition your GANs, and creation of the fields within the spheres you use. In so many ways, once we do without the motors, these things will become very easy. Then you decide the position of the top reactor or one reactor, and you can choose which reactor is going to be lit. If we cannot live with each other in peace, then our neighbors beyond this solar system will have the same problem as with us. Then we say they suppress us. They are trying to overrule us. That's why we teach this way, that you become equal and understand. We start radical teaching from today, from this week. You will see how directly we put the technologies on the table. Patents don't exist. There are a number of cases which we ask, we know there are scientists in the background who are sitting and can do the job. You all have been looking for CO2 GaNs or copper oxide GaNs for energy and other bits. Now I open a new dimension into the whole work. You know that we are selling and we have commercialized the CO2 packages around the world, and it's getting done in China in a mass in the coming weeks. Now, what are the uses application of CO2 beyond what you have applied up to now? We are using part of this technology in the contamination with the Japanese government through different processes. Now we open a new door of application. One of the biggest problems with this planet at the moment is the contamination through the use of fuel, fossil fuel. We see heavy environments over big cities which are what we call contaminated with different kind of pollutions. A new way, a new approach. Add the CO2 as a liquid to the present fuels in your fuel tanks. Let us know the outcome. The procedure is very simple. CO2 will add into the combustion, and you can add the CO2 gas into the liquid cooling system of the oil too. It will become a nanomaterial in the right places and reduces friction. In the fuel, as it comes out of the exhaust, it becomes part of the absorption of the heavy metals within the fuel. Increases the efficiency and reduces fuel consumption. Cleaning up the cities becomes much more easier. But now is how we're going to collect what comes out as CO2 plus other materials which land on the ground. You have a solid mass. The way the CO2 and shown copper oxide interacted with the contamination in Japan, now this can be applied further into the industrial applications. One of the things which you have not understood and now we put on the table is what I explained to you before. Do not work in 2 dimensions, work in 1 dimension. Work in matter or work in plasma or work in a gas or a gas, what they call nanolayers. I had a beautiful talk with Armand last night. I've been telling Armand and Marco and in so many ways to you lot what you never understood, but as Armand is adventurous and what I call a free spirit in this technology, he applied nano-layer coated wires instead of normal wires to CO2 set. And he said, I'm producing so much amino acids, so much fat on the top is unbelievable. So much is getting produced. He has moved to the next step. If you want to see lift in your systems, if you want to see interaction of the plasma within your systems, connect your reactors through nano-coated tubes so the plasma can flow and balance itself. Or you can control the balance of the plasma. We showed this originally at the beginning of these teachings in the lab to the students, but they did not understand, the knowledge seekers. But now, use what you have produced as plasma in the center cores of your star formation, connect the cores together through nano-coated tubes, where the plasma can travel without the loss and does not change into matter state. As we say, good morning. you will achieve flight. This was one of the keys missing in the operation of your reactors. You need to enter space in a correct way. You cannot do half of one and half of the other. One of the reasons you cannot concentrate your plasmas or direction of flow is because you cannot influence the plasma direction of the motion. Now, take your technology and knowledge one step further. People in NASA and the Russian Space Agency and the Iranian Space Agency now understand what was missing in their flight system. You cannot connect matter into plasma and expect to see a performance of a plasma as the universe does. You cannot contain plasma in a matter state container. If you understood, you know where is your pitfall and why you're not flying and why you're not producing huge energies. I said I opened the door, and from today all the doors will be open so radically, so rapidly, that will force governments and people to do what they did not want to do. Get yourself plastic tubes. You do not need copper. Steam coat them in caustic that they get fully nano coat layers. As you know, you can coat plastic and use it as a channel to control the plasma in your cores. Then you decide the position of the free plasma in the center of star formation and its strength. It's upon you to decide where you're going to position this pipe and what efficiency you're looking for. You don't need to eat the matter. You can create a plasma of it of the same strength and consume it. This is why when they do Raman spectroscopy, they see the property of the CO2, but when they do chemical interaction, there is no CO2. And this has caused a lot of problems, especially for the Italian nuclear center when they did the test. It drove the scientists here crazy, and I had to explain to them. Because in Raman spectroscopy, we measure magnetic field strength, and it shows the property, magnetic field of CO2. But when we put in the matter, there is no interaction. This we cannot explain, because we have not understood the separation between matter and a gans, and the interaction in the world of matter where the gans manifests itself as an entity of tangibility. This is what I said from the beginning. Every time you set a reactor, you set a system, pray for it. As Ivan says here, once you create a life, you create a soul. So now, if you want to be materialistic, without giving it a life, do not touch the amino acid. Just use the CO2. If you want to be true man, no harming energy, because the CO2 still is in the state of energy. Once you mix the CO2 and metals into the amino acid which has come from the air, which creates the essence of life, then you create a soul. Then you have a live eating. In so many cases in the coming time, man will open his eyes to other existences which live across the deep oceans of this planet. They have adapted themselves to this access. If you thought that what you see as a flying objects in the sky is the only place they go, no. Deepest points on this planet, even through the solid barriers, has been achieved. If you have the knowledge, you can enter the center of a stone and enjoy the beauty of it without ever destroying the stone. This is what is to come. When we add to the mass of the principal fields by absorbing fields from the other reactors, we sink or we reduce height. And when we take away from it, we increase height, or weight, or we decrease weight. This, if you're an electronic person, go back into the reading of the Coca-Cola bottle. You have seen the current and voltages fluctuating from positive to negative. You are measuring electrons flow, but in a plasmatic condition. When your meter reads negative from the reference point, it means the plasma field flow is magnetical. And when it's positive, it's gravitational. The new tools which will be built here, hopefully in conjunction with Professor Lutzi, is to measure both fields. And then the balance will give you the mass. And that mass gives you the measure of one in respect to another, and what you call the plasmatic field pressure or magnetic field pressure. Is the magnetic field balance between the free plasma and the Earth, which decides the position, is what you have, we never explained. Now maybe it's time to open up to add to the knowledge, is when you create gravitational magnetic field in a free plasma, when you allow the mass or the balance field in this entity to increase, then it's like putting a cat on top of what do you call it, a dog, or putting a child on top of you. You feel the pressure, so it pushes you further into the bed. So you become closer to the ground. This way we do by adding the mass of gravitational magnetic field into the principal core. So that creates a pressure to come closer to the in respect to the Earth gravitational magnetic field. So that pressure allows you to go further or closer. Plasmatic magnetic field pressure comes from the balance fields and not what we call by the mass of the gravitational magnetic field. And these are the new tools we have to develop. As human being, we call it 1G. But if you bring another creature from another planet, the 1G for us can be a compression of 10,000 G to him, and vice versa. So even in the deep space travels, in the starship formations, facilities are made that different creatures from different environments can live within the same spaceship, but they have their own environments. It's very much like what we see in the oceans. If you bring deep sea animals up to the surface of the water, even in the same water, they will die because they are used to different compression. In a space, we travel as community, but we create environment that allows each entity to have its independent, perfect life, even though you have communication across. What this means, let's say you have 10 floors, and one floor is for a human being because we create 1G, which is 1G to human. But on the other floor, we need to create a condition of 20G or 100G, because the other creatures cannot stand. It's the way they were created. Man has a lot to learn to live in a universal community. Even though on each floor everybody communicates with each other and all participate in the same process. One of the realities is what we opened up in the Knowledge Seekers, the health workshop this week. The structure and way and the position of the liver in the body of the man, where I explained all the fields and the ganses is not what you see, it's just from the blood. It mainly comes from the lung and from the digestion limbs system. You need both a gans and a plasma to hold. The body does it in the liver. If you look at the structure of the kidney, when the next teachings will be about, is about the same. If you look at the conversion of the matter into a gans and the gans into matter, or matter state of the gans, look at the working of intestine and bladder and the kidney. In fact, the kidney converts energy into matter state. And so it does your big intestine. It does the same thing. You have to learn how your reactors work. Go back to if it's too far to go and think of an atom or a galaxy, look at the structure of the human body. This is what I always say, the biggest advantage for the Keshe Foundation working this way has been the health side, because we learn everything about the space in the space of the body of the man. It's the best galaxy vacuum system we have, and we can test everything on it. We don't need to go into deep space to see what happens in the condition of one galaxy or the other one. Liver is a galaxy on its own with all its planets, and kidney is the same. And the worst one is the black hole, which you call it the heart, because it continuously pumps and it has all different characters. So why should I need to spend trillions to go, maybe able in 20 years or 10 years or 5 years, across the boundary of the solar system? I go from one solar system and one galaxy to another, you call it the cell of the kidney, and then the kidney itself, which is the galaxy. And we've seen it, our operation has shown what it is and how it is. Manufacturers, silicon chips manufacturers, understand the new dimension, the possibility and the use of the new systems, what we call not electronic but plasmatic systems, will bring a totally new dimension in the world of the creation of materials, communication and everything else. Do you need to get in the car to go to uncle's house, where you have a system, uncle has the same system, if he doesn't want you to be there, he doesn't allow you. But if he invites you for dinner, you go from here to New York in the same position, in a matter of instant. This is how in the space you receive a combination of fields. As I said before, you don't receive cauliflower. You receive the taste of cauliflower because emotionally we create it in the field you receive, but you receive the energy of a cauliflower. Everything will be in a real dimension, not in the physicality dimension. It's in the plasmatic magnetic field. The structure is not to produce, go from plasma, go to gans, go to matter, and then come back up. And this process is too long, and it uses too much, and too much is lost. And you only see at the lowest level, not at the highest level. And the lowest level is the vibration of electron. So what happens to the others on the top? Then this, as I said, we will make a new mandala table, but in a way that everybody understands it, and it has thousands and millions of colors, not even the ones you've seen. You've seen the new colors on the books which we released. This is very interesting because, as I said, some people, I don't know if you heard it or not, there are so many colors that we are not aware of. Even the new, even carpets which are made handmade, some of them have 30,000-40,000 different colors, and we don't see it. We just look at it just as a carpet. They spend time to create the color. Now those colors we have to learn. If man has so much colors on his what they call it, vocabulary of books, of colors. God knows how much we need to learn more in the space and understand. As there used to be a joke, and it's not a joke in reality, in England you could get a first degree in the shades of color white. One of the universities years ago offered such a degree. So you can imagine how many colors are in the shade of white, that we call white but they're not white but just shade of it. Now put the other colors of the universe together. And now we do the new measurements that way. Those of you who do not have a detector, just put your finger between the two cores, just for a few milliseconds, just to move it towards one or the other one, and if you feel a pressure, it means your plasma is complete and is interacting with each other. Because it's a tangible interaction, because these fields in your setting have to cross matter condition between the two. And that interaction has a difference field. You're more to one or the other one, or you feel the strength of one pushing the other one. If by any chance any government will stop us or try to assassinate us again, we have made arrangements that their system will be released automatically to every Keshe Foundation, every nation immediately. Which means the countries which are making arm will become obsolete in one go. We will not harm not a single person, we will not harm not a single company or nation. Through reproduction system on this planet, we create mothers, or the givers, the life givers. And our aim is to change the life givers. It's them who we have to change aggression in. The problem has been with the female part of this planet is that they've been subordinate. And with this setup, I'm putting Elia on the same level as me, we give you equality in every sense. It's hard for a lot of people to accept, especially in the third world nations and in Arab countries, that a woman is equal. Through this program, through these cells, through these systems, we bring woman equal in every level with a man. That there is no fight, there is no superiority, and no one is over another. This is something which a lot of you never understood. To have peace, it has to be equality, not just on race, color, and religion, but at home. And home is the planet Earth. And the Mother Earth, which is the mother which gives life, has to be equal to the man who initiates life. I have told this several times to Elia, but she has not managed to see there is no challenge, but love and care and equality.